Hello again. We do a show called Countdown to Scream 2022, and you are our first interview after seeing the movie. So my mind's like, I can't believe
Wow.
I time.
It's an honor.
Yes. All right.
So are we allowed to talk about the actual movie because you've seen it, or no? We're still going no spoilers.
I think we're still going.
We're still going.
Spoilers.
Okay.
I mean, you can break the rules if you want to.
No, just teasing you guys.
I feel like you'll get in trouble less than we will.
Yeah.
All right, no spoilers. What was your very first impression of the tone of the new movie? Because it's strikingly darker and more brutal than Scream 4.
You know what? You're right. It goes a little bit darker. I think they did a great job of maintaining the through line of that classic Scream tone, the Scream franchise tone, which is at once terrifying and self-referencing and meta and funny. And I think, and ironic, and I think they managed to keep that perfectly. But you're right, they upped it a notch in terms of dark and brutal.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see you back in the film because your character was such a standout from the sequels. And I'm wondering what brought you back to this world. Was there a particular selling point?
I got a call out of the blue that they were relaunching the Scream franchise. And I was so excited at the opportunity to reprise my role as Deputy Judy Hicks. We made Scream 4 10 years ago, and I had such an incredible time doing it. And I had no idea that they were going to ever make another one. And so it was just a unique and exciting opportunity to reprise a character that I had so enjoyed playing before.
Did you come up with any ideas yourself after Scream 4 about where Judy's story could be heading next? And how did those hopes and expectations compare to what you actually got in the end?
Well, this is what made this opportunity so specifically unique. The opportunity to play a character 10 years later, right? So we're picking up with Judy and what evolutions have happened to her for the better, for the worse, what stayed the same. Like, these were questions I'm asking myself. And of course, it's established pretty early on that she is now Sheriff Hicks, right? So she's gone from deputy to sheriff. And so she's the boss lady. And now all of a sudden she has a teenage son. And so those are pretty big evolutions. And so for me, it was like, okay, so how do we keep her in Judy world, but Judy world has now evolved. And so it was trying to add in these new details, but yet keep her sort of core essence the same.
How did finding out that she had a son change the character for you?
Well, I think all of that, to be the sheriff of a small town, it's a measure of control, right? She's running the show. It's her world. She's a rule follower. And now she's making other people follow the rules. And I think that same sort of protector instinct overflows into the way she parents. And she's definitely a helicopter parent, to say the least. And, I think they have a really tight bond because she's a single mother. And so there's a lot more emphasis and pressure on that relationship between mother and son than there normally would. He's an only child. She's a single mother, and she's fiercely protective, and she sees all the bad that's out there. So it makes her even more hyper protective.
You mentioned that she's the boss lady now, and I think that's really exciting because she was such a great comic foil, but she really gets to step up this time. And I'm wondering if you thought about in your own mind what that transition was like, the moment that she decided to take on the deputy, the sheriff's badge. Did you have a backstory or thought about how that happened?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. I think, Judy is such a believer in right and wrong and playing by the rules and the book, right? Everything's by the book. And when we met her in Scream 4, she was just enamored of Dewey and idolized him. He was her hero. She was his lackey, for lack of a better word, and kind of hung on his every word or order. And when we meet both characters in this installment, David Dewey has kind of lost his way a bit. And so she's had to step up and take control and kind of fill his shoes. And I think that while she loves the promotion, I think there's a bit of sadness that her hero has sort of fallen on hard times and lost his way. So I think that she's a bit befuddled by that. So I think it's bittersweet for her.
I was like so hesitant to ask you what it was like when she got the sheriff job, because I'm like doing mental gymnastics here, trying to figure out when I'm going to trip into spoiler territory. But you got to it for me. Going back to the mother-son relationship, can you tell us a little bit about working with Dylan as a scene partner? Something that maybe he did for you on set that brought more out of Judy than you even realized was there at the beginning?
Dylan is just so immediately available and transparent, and has this earnestness that I think really works on screen and as a person. It's a lovely quality. So it was just easy. There was just an ease and an effortlessness. It was a natural rapport. We honestly didn't have to work at it very hard. It was, we just sort of fell in step pretty naturally. And he's lovely to work with.
You know, one of the things we learn about your character in this film is that you're a fan of, well, Judy is a fan of animation and musicals. And I'm wondering, is Marley someone who would choose a good animated musical over a horror movie, or is the star of Scream and Valentine down with the bloody slashers?
I mean, first of all, I think it is really funny and quintessentially Judy that no matter what darkness is going on in the world, what horrific scenario, she's always going to try to find the sunny side, right? She just can't help herself. She's an eternal optimist, eternally positive. So, and it's just such a funny juxtaposition, right? As things unravel and get crazier and darker and scarier, and Judy still has to, she's still clinging to the light, but the sunny side of life. But for me personally, oh gosh, I definitely like the darker fare, but I like it all. As long as it's well done, I'm in. I really do love all genres as long as they're well executed.
So follow up on that. Do you have a subgenre of horror that creeps you out the most? It's like, I love slasher movies more than anything, but it's more like the dark family type horror that's real world, like things like the Babadook that
oh my God,
going on in my head and I have no control over. That's the type of stuff that scares me most.
I can't even watch that movie. I love psychological horror, and I mean, The Shining, things like that. Rosemary's Baby, which I also feel like has an element of Black comedy to it. I think the kind of horror that I just can't even watch is the Exorcist, like things, that kind of realistic yet supernatural. What would you call it? Supernatural realism? I don't know. I can't even watch those movies because it's, but I'm a huge fan of. I also like the classic suspense movies. I love Hitchcock movies. Psycho is one of my favorites. And what's so great about Scream is that, it really pays homage and draws from all of these classics that we're talking about.
Absolutely.
100%. I was thinking earlier, you and the crew, the actors in this film have such a hard time because you can't. Spoilers are such a scary business with this film, and I feel like holding that back must be stressful. So I wanted to see, is there another film you'd like to spoil for us? Just any film, and maybe one of those horror movies you mentioned. Just let it out. Just spoil something.
Let it out.
What happens? What is the big moment in Psycho? If someone hasn't seen Psycho, let's spoil Psycho.
I promise you, Jack Nicholson does get killed in the end. Right? Yeah.
Spoil The Sixth Sense.
Janet Leigh dies. Sorry, guys. Yeah.
But is it genuinely like something hard to like just stop yourself from talking about it? We saw it last night and we just had to get on the phone to each other and be like, bah, 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 bah. I feel like you want to talk about this.
Oh yeah. I mean, you definitely adapt, right? Because they have these cattle prods off set here and they just like zap us. And if we, say too much, I'm just kidding. But no, and all of you journalists today have been so respectful and followed all the spoiler rules. So it actually hasn't been too difficult, but yes, I mean, because there's just so much you want to talk about.
I've legit been in a sweat since 10 o'clock this morning. Here's something that wouldn't be spoilery. It puts you on the creative spot. So we know about lemon squares and also sushi. She likes sushi a lot.
Right.
Pull out the Judy Hicks menu for us. What else is on her like go-to item of food?
Well, you're on to that. We were trying to paint a picture of what Judy was like in her civilian life, because we never get to see that in Scream 4, right? So we just thought we were adding these details. Like, wouldn't that be funny if she's like in, like, her sense of fashion is just slightly off. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but she's wearing those leopard leggings, and she's rocking a little bit of cleavage and her hair is down. It's just like a different version of the buttoned up Judy, which we thought would be a funny contrast. But you're right. She's a sushi eater. I don't think she cooks very much, except she's a baker. She's a baker on the weekends. She makes her lemon squares, but she's busy. She's a working mom. So I think there's a lot of ordering out, like, for instance, the sushi.
I respect that.
I respect that, but I'm also like, what a wasted kitchen. That kitchen's amazing.
I love that you noticed. You're like, I like the island.
Yeah, I'm like, I love that island. I thought it was on HGTV, and I was thinking, you've got to bake more than just lemon squares. I am curious, you spoke about fashion. If Judy Hicks, this is not a spoiler related to this film, but let's just say Judy Hicks was a slasher killer in another universe, or Marley was, what would be your slasher outfit?
In a different.
Let's imagine let's forget about it. You're inventing your own new killer. We've got Ghostface here. How would you style your
I am the killer?
Yeah. Leopard skin pants.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would, I'll be the stiletto killer. How about that?
I love that.
She can use it as a weapon. She can use her heels as a weapon.
Practical.
Makes sense. Here's another spin on Scream for you personally. So Ghostface comes a calling and he's gonna put you to the test. What category of trivia would you have the best chance of surviving?
Wait, but doesn't Ghostface always hit you up with the?
He does. We're gonna bend their rules a little.
Let's imagine you can choose.
I can choose in our version. I can choose where I would thrive, or maybe not die. I'm pretty good on the old movies. Pretty good, but don't test me right now.
Movie trivia gives me anxiety. I would never.
It does.
A little bit.
I wanted to ask, because Perri and I are two people who love this franchise, and it means a whole lot to us. And you can tell from over Perri's shoulder, it's had a big impact on her life. What does it mean to you that these movies connect with people? And do you have a particularly memorable fan interaction from over the years that sticks with you and makes you feel something to be a part of Scream?
There's something about Scream that's so visceral. I remember seeing the first one in the theater, and I actually auditioned for the first one. It was the big, hot, exciting project in town, and everybody and their mother was auditioning and clamoring to be a part of it. And then when I saw it in the movie theater, I was like, and that's why, like, it lived up to all of the hype, and I just remember my jaw was on the floor. I couldn't believe how smart it was, how tonally groundbreaking it was. And it just felt like watching a masterpiece, and utterly terrifying, but like, it also made you feel so smart because you got the references, and, so there's such a nostalgia for me just as an audience member of that first Scream experience. And then over the years, all the installments, and then getting the opportunity to obviously join the cast for 4 was, I just was like a kid in a candy shop. I felt so honored, and to get to work with the late Wes Craven. And then now to be able to reprise my role as Judy. So I guess to answer your question, there's just something about seeing it in the movie theater and people reminiscing about their experience of it that make you feel like you're a part of something, I guess it's a nostalgia. And now it's so exciting because now we have something brand new to offer.
You guys captured that quality in this movie so well. My heart last night. Thank you for the movie and for your time today. Marley, it's an honor.
Oh, the honor is
you.
mine. Thanks, guys.